When death comes knocking, no one is safe. It's a picture-perfect day on the Mackinac River in Illinois.
It's a rural area, a lot of hunting, fishing, things of that nature.
People canoe up and down. Quite a few people do enjoy that leisure time activity, just canoeing or kayaking or whatever.
But on this particular morning, the Mackinac is home more than just fish.
They noticed something that looked odd and then realized what it was. It was a torso that was found. Head was attached, arms were attached. It was from the waist up that was there. The legs were missing. There was the blackness, the ashiness. You could just tell that this body had been burned at some point. They immediately called 911.
I see a dead body in the water.
McLean County Sheriff's Office covered the body from the river.
It's like a John Doe here, judging from the size.
It was a white male, over the age of 50.
His head was still there.
Face is badly burned. It's going to be hard to ID.
The charred corpse is taken to the nearest hospital, where authorities hope to identify it.
The McLean County Coroner's Office completed an autopsy. And it was during that autopsy, a couple things were realized. One, that the victim had been shot at least 5 times.
Bullet shots in the chest area and in the head. Body was burned post-mortem.
The dead man's mouth tells the coroner its own story.
When they removed the dentures, there was a little recess in the dentures, and the name Oakley was in that denture. So we figured we had either a first or a last name to start trying to figure out who he was.
Some detectives knew that there was an Oakley Mitchell that lived in the rural Secor area, which wasn't too far, 5 miles maybe, from where the body was found. And so that's what led the detectives to go investigate Mr. Mitchell and see if he was at his residence or if this was Oakley Mitchell.
Detectives aren't the only ones looking for Oakley.
Daddy? I checked the doors, they were all locked. I peeked in the windows, I didn't see anything.
Are you in there? Answer me!
She had not heard from her father in a few days.
Hey there.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Can I help you?
Detective Robert Gilson, Woodford County PD, ma'am. You are?
I'm Darlene Jordan. This is my dad's place.
Okay. Well, listen, we're here to check up on your father, okay? We're just going to take a quick look around.
I haven't seen him for 4 days myself. Nothing's happened to him, has it?
Yeah, we'll let you know, okay? Just stay right there, please.
Well, can you tell me anything?
Stay there, please, all right?
They didn't tell me anything. I mean, I sat there on that stoop, I was getting very upset.
There was a spot in the backyard where they burnt trash.
Household items that they no longer want to use, couches, chairs.
Today, police find more than just cast-off furniture.
Oh, yeah, I think we got some here.
What's going on? Will someone please tell me what is going on here?
The chaos on the farm is a far cry from its usual state. A calm sanctuary for Oakley Mitchell. As he approaches his golden years, this happily divorced father of 3 grown children has just one dream: buying a farm like the one he grew up on.
He was trying to recapture the same feeling that he had when he was younger.
He didn't really have a plan, he was just gonna raise chickens and do his own thing.
And he gets to share every moment with son Charles.
Charles lived with Dad his whole life, so they were really close.
Fresh eggs.
I can't believe it.
And Oakley doesn't just take care of his own. He even gives part of his meager farming income to the homeless.
Coffee to go with that here.
He never made any money from farming. He gave things away and helped people.
He was very kind, he was sweet, he was just a really nice guy.
Have yourself a good day.
Luckily, farming's just a hobby.
Isn't that great?
Oakley has been making his real living as a machinist for the past 20 years.
He made pretty good money.
He was stable financially. He had enough money to maintain himself and the house. He could afford that.
The 59-year-old part-time farmer is also a fixture at the local bingo hall.
G53.
Oakley would just sit there and just look around and just enjoy himself. Young at heart.
I-16.
Bingo! Bingo!
Are you okay? What's the matter?
But luck is a fickle thing, and his soon turns.
Just need to rest a second.
You feel weak?
He got really sick.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
He got myasthenia grava, and it deteriorates the muscles. So he would be weak, and not able to move around like he used to.
Very quickly, Oakley's mobility is reduced to almost none.
He was on pain medication to help control his pain.
Thankfully, he's not alone.
Hey, be careful up there. We don't need two of us in wheelchairs.
Charles is the one that took care of Oakley when Oakley got sick. He did most of the cleaning and helped around the farm when he needed to.
Thank you.
Then they wanted me and the kids to move out there with them, so we did.
Charles' girlfriend, Artie, and her children from a previous relationship move in.
Happy birthday!
You guys, look at that.
You know, my kids loved him. Oakley treated my children like his grandkids.
Artie and the kids stay at the farm for over a decade. And as Oakley hits his 70s, neither his age nor his illness slow him down.
Take this.
He was very exceptional. I don't know how else to describe him.
But a kind heart and good intentions aren't everyone's currency.
Listen, take that. Have a good day.
He gave people so much money that he would call me up and borrow money so he could make his house payment.
When it comes to debt, Oakley is far more understanding than the bank.
Looks like I'm in bad trouble.
Oakley dodges bankruptcy, barely, but his luck keeps heading south.
Charles and my youngest daughter got into a big argument, and Charles always knew that he was not allowed to lay his hands on one of my children, and he tried to, so that's what made me leave. He didn't want us to leave because he knew that me and the kids were good for Charles, and Oakley understood. He didn't like it, but he understood.
Their departure is only the beginning of Oakley's son Charles' troubles.
He got busted for marijuana, growing it in the basement.
Charles didn't believe that that was illegal, even if they say it is. He didn't believe it was illegal.
Charles lands 5 years for possession, and Oakley is left with no one.
Charles was Dad's little baby. He was pretty upset about it. And then he was living there by himself and lonely.
His daughter lived about 35 minutes away. So he truly was alone out in the country in a big farmhouse with grounds to maintain. And human interaction was in short supply for him, especially in the winter.
But that's about to change.
If someone was trying to get money or whatever, he would feel obligated to bring him home.
They're not stray animals. You cannot bring them into your home.
71-year-old Oakley Mitchell fulfills his lifelong dream of owning a farm, but bad debts and bad decisions leave him alone on the range.
Looks like I'm in bad trouble.
Within months of his son Charles' incarceration, Oakley's back to what makes his spirits shine, helping others.
Run into people anywhere, the gas stations, the bingo hall, the stores, any place that he'd go. If someone was there with a sign or trying to get money or whatever, he would feel obligated to bring him home.
Oakley had a deal. He'd give them food and shelter to help them back on their feet.
Here you go.
And they would come out and harvest all of the fruits and vegetables, and then they would go in town and sell the fruit and vegetables, and then they would get the money.
And that money goes into their pockets, not his.
As soon as they got enough money, they would just go on their own way. So he never made any money off of it.
Over 10 years, more than 20 people passed through the farm en route to a better future. He changes a lot of lives, but Oakley's other son, Thomas, sees a darker side to his father's generosity.
He started helping more people, moving people into his home to help them out. Unfortunately, he became lax in his ability to be judgmental about people.
Look, you don't even know these people. Your faith in them is going to end up biting you.
Hey, have a little faith in human nature.
Yeah, faith.
It's true that Oakley's luck is on the upswing.
They finally got his medicine right, so he had been feeling great, was out doing everything again, was back to his normal self.
People are dead. You just gotta treat them right.
Yet running Hotel Oakley isn't always easy.
Actually, gotten two tenants to leave because they were taking advantage of him pretty much. They just agreed to leave to move back where they had came from.
Don't come back. You hear me?
But Oakley isn't about to let a few bad apples spoil his appetite for helping others.
Do anything for anybody.
Including his latest project, Lacey.
They met at a bingo game. He was looking at her, she waved at him, something along those lines.
She was born and raised in Indianapolis.
Here's a space.
She had finished high school, done some post-high school education and had worked in some nursing homes. Due to a back injury, she couldn't do a lot of physical labor, so she lost her job.
I've never seen you at Bingo before.
Yeah, it's my first time, actually. I'm so behind on my rent. My landlord is almost done with me. I figured maybe I'll get lucky. I'm Lacey, by the way.
Oh, Oakley.
Oh, good.
Here, take these. These are for you.
Oh, well, let me pay you at least. I don't have much.
No, all right, please. They're yours.
She was a young mother, but she was a very good mother. She thought she could make a better life and have more opportunities for her daughters here in Bloomington as opposed to Indianapolis. Everything she did, every decision she made, she was trying to better the lives of her daughters.
What do you do if you don't rent tonight?
Oh, I'd rather not think about that.
I have a proposal for you. I've got a big old place, and if you need somewhere to stay with the kids...
Oh, I couldn't...
Well, just until you get things straightened out, but I need help around the place. You'd be helping me out. Anyway, just think about it, and we'll play and see how it all comes out, all right?
Okay, okay, fair enough.
She was definitely different than anybody else that had been brought to the house.
She would be his caregiver. She would take him to the doctor, she would take him shopping, prepare food, and then would just take Oakley wherever he needed to go.
Since she had that training and that experience, she felt she could help him. She also felt it was a good opportunity for her girls and herself to be in a stable, nice home.
Slow down, come on. I'm so sorry, Mr. Oakley. I mean, I don't know what's gotten into them.
That's all right. Kids will be kids.
Guess you're right.
Come in, come in. How are you?
I'm great, how are you?
And Darlene is nearly as taken with Lacey as her dad is.
Nice to meet you.
She was dressed real pretty. Her kids were dressed really nice. She was well-spoken, always calling Dad Mr. Oakley. And when I first met her, I'm like, well, she's the nicest girl I've ever met.
Do you want some tea? Sure, yeah. Okay.
Dad was a big flirt.
She's great. Good company, good cook.
He would say, she's going to be my girlfriend someday. He did that to all the girls.
As it turns out, Lacey is already spoken for.
She should never talk to me about
I called him to find out who this woman and this guy was that he had in his car, and he just said they were people that needed a place to live.
Not supposed to. Hello.
The guy is Lacey's boyfriend, Tom, who moves onto Oakley's farm a week after she does.
I was just scared for him, because where in the heck did he meet these people? I mean, it really shook me up. And I'm like, they're not stray animals. They're actual human beings. You cannot bring them into your home.
Yeah, everything's fine. Just going for a drive.
And he's like, oh, don't worry about me. I'll be okay.
Tom had a job that they didn't have the wherewithal to support themselves. They were relying on Oakley Mitchell.
But Tom soon learns that his free room and board comes with strings attached.
This is a really nice place to sleep.
And that's the way my dad was. He was very old-fashioned and didn't want sex going on in his house. If you're in his house, there's no couples sleeping together.
Really? Home sweet home.
That was cause for quite a lot of the friction, I believe.
Mr. Mitchell! Hello, Mr. Mitchell, let me in. It's cold out here.
They would get into arguments because, like, oh, I'm not sleeping in no shed.
Lacey!
Lacey's caught between her love for Tom and providing a home for her daughters.
Mr. Mitchell! Are you serious?
Tom's convinced there's more to Oakley's lack of hospitality than old-fashioned values.
He felt there was a racial component to it. He felt that Mr. Mitchell was being racist in his behavior towards him, and he didn't like being disrespected that way.
Whatever the reason, nights are cold for young Tom, and are about to get colder in more ways than one.
They didn't get along. They had verbal arguments.
And he would challenge him on how he was treating her.
Oakley Mitchell opens his home to a young couple with nothing to their name. He offers Lacey royal treatment, but forces Tom to sleep in a shed.
You think I like living out here, middle of nowhere?
Calm down.
Stop telling me to calm down.
It won't be long.
How long? It won't be long.
Mr. Mitchell would think that she's being mistreated, that she wasn't being treated with respect.
How long?
Lacey,
And so he would challenge him on how he was treating her.
go on inside the house. Is there a problem here?
They didn't get along. They had verbal arguments at different points in time. Nothing physical, but verbal arguments.
No. Old timer. There ain't no problem here.
He would get upset with her because he didn't think she was taking his side. And as the tension grew, Mr. Mitchell would make comments to him. He would say things to him like, I don't want you in my house.
Tom vows to stick it out for now, because living at the farm gives Lacey and her girls some security, and it certainly makes Oakley happy.
Careful, careful.
Thank you.
Oakley kind of took a liking to Lacey and her kids.
He was looking for companionship. I think he was lonely. She clearly viewed it as a friendship, a more of a professional relationship.
I am so lucky to have such an incredibly attractive young assistant helping me to dress and undress.
There were times he would make perhaps inappropriate comments, and she would just tell him, Mr. Oakley, just stop that, and would laugh it off.
Tom doesn't appreciate the jokes. 2 weeks after first meeting, there's nothing that Oakley won't do for his charming new housemate.
Take a picture, yes?
He came to my house and introduced us, and he wanted my phone so that she would have a phone.
The phone? Really? Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. Girls, we have a new phone. Look at that.
She was well dressed, groomed, didn't look homeless. Seemed very nice.
Thomas gives Lacey his cell phone, but that's not the end of it.
He just called me up and said he wanted to borrow $300, and I said, what for? Hello? So I've got to go to Indiana, and Lacey has to pick up her kids and some paperwork.
Let me see.
By the way.
School was getting ready to start. She wanted to enroll her oldest daughter. She needed some documents that were back in Indianapolis.
I said, yeah. I knew he'd pay it back.
You don't know how much it means to me.
Of course. You take such good care of Dad.
He provided her with a card drive. He gave her a cell phone. He provided them with food and clothing. She had access to his debit card, and she was allowed to purchase things with his debit card.
Oakley's grateful to have Lacey manage his life because he's becoming more and more forgetful.
Hey, Darlene. Hi, sweetheart. Listen, I got a situation here.
My dad had called me and asked me if I knew where the coin collection was. And I said, last time I seen it, it was underneath your bed. And he says, oh, I haven't looked under there.
But the coins aren't under the bed.
And then on the 26th, he sent us an email saying that, well, he had lost his phone. So he turned around and got another phone, and he happened to lose that phone, too. So he had no way of getting hold of us.
It's not just coins and misplaced phones.
Oh, his medicine. There was Vicodin, I think it was. Vicodin was missing.
Oakley suspects Tom, but has no proof.
I told Oakley, you need to get him out. You need to get him out. And he told me not to worry about him.
That's because Oakley's got a plan. Charles will be out of prison soon.
He said it would just be until Charles moved back in and she got back on her feet. So he thought it would only be like 6 months.
But Oakley may not have 6 months.
I would call him, and if he didn't answer, he would call me back, because that meant he was asleep. But in August, he didn't call me back.
In fact, nobody's heard from Oakley in days.
I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and all of a sudden I see Dad's car pull in. I thought it was Dad. And here comes Lacey out of the car, and I asked her,
Hey, Lacey. Dad's not with you? Yeah, that's why I'm here, Miss Darlene. I was gone 4 days since Thursday, and when I got back, he was gone.
Oh, well, you know, it's the weekend. I wouldn't worry. And that's usually when you play bingo, so I didn't think nothing of it.
Right, I wanted to check out his car. I didn't want to leave it unattended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you headed?
Atlanta. Family matters, you know. Anyway, I'll see you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Lacey. That's nice of you. We'll see you soon.
The story was, I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia, to be with my family. If you hear from your dad, tell him to give me a call. That way I know he's okay.
But Oakley isn't okay.
There was blood on the computer itself and on the wall behind the computer.
She was crying, bawling, eyes out and everything. Oh my God, Mr. Oakley, Mr. Oakley.
Oakley Mitchell gives struggling mom Lacey a break by allowing her to live rent-free on his farm. But when Oakley goes missing, Lacey's stumped, and so is Oakley's family.
Oh yeah, I think we got something here.
And it isn't long before they learn where he's gone.
What's going on? Where's my dad? They didn't tell me anything. Another hour went by. I was getting mad. I'm like, what the hell are you looking for? And finally, it had to be a good 3.5 hours after they got there, a coroner came out and sat me down and told me, we found your father's remains.
There was a human bone found in the brush pile, and which further confirmed what happened as far as his body being taken to the burn pile.
I just couldn't believe it.
It certainly has the undivided attention of local law enforcement.
We obtained a search warrant for the house.
The house was a mess.
The search moves to Oakley's bedroom.
It wasn't dirty, but it was a little bit unkept. On the floor in that area, we found one .22 caliber shell casing. There was no blood splatter, pools of blood, anything that you could see just on a cursory exam of the room.
However, upon closer examination of the hover-around wheelchair that Oakley Mitchell used, there was blood located on the tires, which led us to believe that this is possibly where the crime occurred.
Another shell casing is found. And when police do a luminol test, they uncover a treasure trove of grisly details.
The luminol illuminated where blood had been in the room. There was blood on Oakley Mitchell's keyboard, on the computer itself, and on the wall behind the computer.
Oakley Mitchell was sitting at a computer desk in his room at the time that he was shot.
There was also signs of chemicals being used to clean up the immediate area where blood was initially found in that bedroom.
And that not all police line.
During the search, we located a wristband that someone would receive when they visit a hospital.
A wristband that had the name of Vashon Mills on it.
Who is Vashon Mills?
But the county started checking her name through their system, and they had found that she had been to pawn shops in Bloomington.
By law, the pawn shops give access to their pawn sheets, anything that they buy or sell.
And at that point, that's when we got of her inside the pawn shop, pawning a TV belonged to Oakley.
She had other items at the pawn shop that we suspected came from Oakley. There was some silverware, there was some vintage coins that she had pawned.
Ms. Mitchell, we understand that your father was taken in boarders. Do you know who was staying with him most recently?
Yeah, I do.
She stated she knew of a black female that she knew of as by Lacey, and then there was a black male that she did not know his name at the time that had been staying there as well.
Do you have any idea where we can find them?
She told me yesterday she was headed to Georgia.
Darlene really did not know any other personal information about them.
But that's about to change.
Do you know who this is?
Oh my God. Yeah, that's her. That's Lacey.
Lacey and Vashon, one and the same.
How long? Lacey.
If Lacey's name is an alias, could her boyfriend Tom's be too?
We received a call from a gentleman who stated he's seen two vehicles parked on the 251 bridge over the Mackinac River, and that there was a African-American female that was looking over the edge of the bridge.
Hi. It's okay. I'm good. You can go on. I'm all right. Thank you.
He did not see anybody else at that time. He didn't see anything other than those cars and that person. He didn't see anything else that was peculiar.
The next day is when they discover Oakley Mitchell's remains.
It definitely made her a person of interest at that point.
So where is the couple now?
The phone? Really? Oh my God, thank you.
Police do have one thread to follow. Darlene has a number for Lacey.
Lacey? Hi, it's me. I have terrible news. My father is dead.
And, I mean, she was crying. Oh, my God, Mr. Oakley, Mr. Oakley.
Lacey, where are you?
Darlene asked her where she was, and Lacey said that she was in Georgia at the time.
Detectives were able to determine that a cell phone tower in the Indianapolis area was being used, not a cell phone tower in Georgia.
Typically, they're within several miles of the tower.
So at that point, we absolutely knew that she was not telling the truth about where she was.
Georgia, all right, I got it. Well, listen, drive safe. We'll talk when you get back.
We received enough information to get warrants for Vashon Mills.
Yeah, Ms. Gilson. Her name is Vashon Mills. Yeah.
And the Woodford County detectives who made contact with police in Indianapolis in order to get them to assist us in the investigation.
Yeah, she's wanted in connection for questioning in a homicide.
Another phone call is to send the investigation in a very different direction.
Please help me.
She was crying, "What did you do? What did you do?"
The murder charge would be very hard to prove.
The only suspects police have in the killing of Oakley Mitchell are Oakley's tenants, Tom and Lacey, who are nowhere to be found. Until the Indianapolis PD receive a call no one is expecting from Lacey.
Please help me.
A.K.A. Vashon Mills.
I need help.
She immediately told the full story of what had happened, provided them all the detail they wanted and needed.
It's Rayshawn Johnson. He's the one who killed Mr. Oakley.
Now police know Tom's real name, and with that, his real history.
He had been convicted of theft. He also had a domestic battery conviction.
John Mills claimed that Rayshawn would hurt her children, and may even hurt her family. So she didn't know what to do.
Please hurry.
The detective talked Lacey into coming into the police station to be interviewed by us.
I did not kill that man. I love Mr. Oakley. He was good to me. He was good to my kids.
Vishon, or Lacey, tells police exactly what happened the day Oakley Mitchell was killed.
There was a large argument and disagreement between the two men that morning.
Man, I'm tired of sleeping in some shit. My girl in your house? You've got no right to treat her this way.
My house, my rules. If you don't like it, just
Hey, guys, please. Okay, calm down. There's no need for this.
You got no right.
Let's go. Sorry.
Later that night, the tension explodes.
Get in. Shh. Just stay in here, all right?
He said, stay in here. Don't move. Shut the door. I heard one gunshot.
You best be helping me clean this up, or you'll be sorry. All right? Let's go.
She was in fear this whole time. She was in fear for her life. She was in fear for her children's lives.
That's why she stayed with him for the next couple days.
And when they get to Indianapolis, her mom immediately confronts him. What did you do? How could you have done this? You're going to leave us alone. I never want to hear from you again.
Indianapolis PD immediately puts out an APB on Rayshawn, a.k.a. Tom, while Vishon agrees to tell them everything she knows about him.
She gave the information describing him, who he was, where he normally hung out.
Including the address of the house he's hiding in Indianapolis.
Rayshawn was found in a family friend's house. Indianapolis PD located him and then they took him into custody for us. And then myself and the two detectives from McLean County drove to Indianapolis to interview and then take custody of Rayshawn and Rashawn. Rayshawn's demeanor, he was crying and upset. He stated that he had shot Oakley and confessed to it. At first, he really wouldn't comment her involvement, other than that she was there and had helped clean.
And he said, I'm the one who did this. She shouldn't be held responsible for murder.
Lift the shoulders, all right? All right, let's go. Come on.
Just let me.
Come on. Grab the kids. Looks like we're good here.
Rashawn went upstairs, got her kids, brought them down. They all got into the car and drove to a hotel in Bloomington.
They decided that they would go back to Oakley Mitchell's residence to check on the fire.
What they would find would rattle even the most cold-blooded of killers.
The fire had pretty much gone out, that there's still quite a bit of the body left. The fire actually burned most of the body away, so the dismembering of the body comes from the burning of it.
What do we do now? I don't know. Wait, you just can't leave him here, all right? You'll help me take him in the back of the trunk of the car, right?
Help you do what?
It was not their intention when they left Oakley Mitchell's house to dump his remains in the river.
Rayshawn states that the car died there on the bridge, and he decided that that would be a perfect spot to get rid of the body.
It's one.
It doesn't quite work.
It's stuck in the mud. I'm back.
So he freaked out and went running down the side down there. And Vishon stayed alone.
And a person sees Vishon getting there on the road and stops to see if she needs help.
Hi. It's okay, I'm good. You can go on. All right, thank you.
The car wouldn't start after they threw Oakley off the bridge, so they just abandoned the car.
Not working.
That car was towed by the state police before the body was recovered.
And they drive back to Bloomington, to the hotel room where her girls are.
The next day, Vishon leaves to Indianapolis with Rayshawn. where they part company, and Vishon visited the police.
Killed Mr. Oakley.
Both now in custody, Vishon's charged with concealment of a homicide, while Rayshon's charged with murder.
Said it was all his idea. It was all his doing.
Yet 2 months later, while awaiting trial, Rayshon's story does a 180.
In October, with his attorney with him, he wanted to make a full statement on what had occurred.
So he came to me one night. She brought me to Bahan. What's going on?
He's been trying to make me do things to him. So, kill him for me.
He stated that Sean was actually the one who had asked him if he'd kill Oakley for her, and had actually kept pressuring him and asking him, "Would you do this for me?"
Dad?
Yeah.
This is good. Don't need dowry. Okay, let's do this.
Oakley was sitting in his chair in his hover-around wheelchair at the pewter, at which time he shot him 5 times.
Vishon was a suspect long before Rayshon's confession.
She was always a person of interest. The reason why she was taken into custody immediately was she was cooperating to help us find the actual shooter to get him in custody.
He's the one who killed Mr. Oakley.
And once he is in custody, Rayshon turned on Vishon.
Rayshon agreed to testify against Vishon.
Further investigation suggests that in the days after Oakley's murder, Vishon was far from a terrified woman.
There were several instances where Rayshon was not around that would have given her the opportunity to leave or to contact the authorities in reference to the homicide.
The assistant stopped to see if she needed help. She stated no, didn't need any help at all.
It's a golden opportunity for escape, one that Lacey ignores. She has other plans.
She went and got her nails done, and she did not tell a person what had happened. She did not appear distraught. She did not appear upset.
Lacey protests her innocence, saying that Tom is just trying to save his own skin. Police prod Rayshon for the true motive behind Oakley's killing, and he finally cracks.
So, I found this guy. He just invited me to sit. I think we got our guy.
They called it the hustle. They would approach people that they suspected were on some type of pain medication, and they would befriend them in the attempt that they could either obtain from them some of their pain medication or just steal it from them.
They would steal pills from them to get high.
They also saw Oakley as their own private ATM.
He got about $3,000 a month from Social Security and then his retirement. Relatively wealthy, I suppose, to someone who didn't have anything.
But in the days following Oakley's death, their plan is a bust.
I think they only got a little over $1,000 out of the ATM. I never imagined anything like this would happen. I thought maybe they would steal from him or something, but not this.
With Lacey, a.k.a. Vishon Mills' story in question, both are charged with murder. Tom, a.k.a. Rayshon Johnson, pleads guilty and is sentenced to 47 years. But in a surprise move, he decides not to testify against Vishon.
I told you, I'm not saying nothing. She had nothing to do with the crime.
He was probably protecting her because of the children to take the blame for the entire murder.
He could have been held in contempt, but again, like he even put it to us, what can you do to me? I'm already serving a life sentence.
Without Rayshon testifying to what he had stated in October, the murder charge would be very hard to prove, at which point there was an agreement that Vishon was going to plead guilty at that point to the concealment of the homicide and dismembering of a human body.
Vishon Mills takes the deal and is sentenced to 18 years in prison.
Throughout this whole process, her number one priority was, I want to get home to my girls. I want to be a part of my girls' lives.
Despite her guilty plea, Vishon swears she's innocent.
She feels terrible that Mr. Mitchell was murdered. She cared about him too. She didn't want to see that happen. She didn't want his family to have to suffer.
It's a claim that means nothing to a family still aching from their loss.
I guess the hardest part is I don't know why. He trusted wrong people is the only thing I can think of.
It's just hard not to pick up the phone and call him, and he's not there. I just miss him a lot.